This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 map first impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at vintage oaks. But before that, this video is brought to you by Greg Musin and Nuka-Cola. Thank you for being farm barons. So the vintage oaks map is the third map released by FarmSim Briscoe, and it can be found over at FarmSim Briscoe's itch.io page. Now, this is a 4X map, and since it is released over at itch.io as opposed to the main Giants mod hub, it is going to be available for PC players only. Let me read you the description. I present Vintage Oaks, a complete remake of the original The Oaks. This is an 80s style textured map based in real-life location of Cantley, based in Norfolk, a place where I grew up and still live close by today. If you'd like to join the Discord channel or need help, click on the Discord link. I hope you all have lots of fun with your stay on the Oaks. Now, this is, as I said, the third map released by FarmSim Briscoe. You're going to find all of them over here at his itch.io page. We've covered Saxthorpe Farms in the past. You can find that in the playlist. Just search the channel. You'll find a video for that. I went back and looked, and I did not cover the Oaks when it originally released. I did just go back and download that and take a look at it, and I was trying to figure out why on earth did I not cover the Oaks when it first released. I did search my Discord. I found there were some performance problems that I had on my system. For some reason, I was getting frame rates only in the 30s. When I looked at it, using at the time a 3080 is what I had as far as a GPU. Now, I just looked at this on my low-end system, and I had a nice solid 60 frames per second. So do look for a video for the Oaks, the original, coming to this channel very, very soon. Now, Vintage Oaks is a basic remake of the original The Oaks, but he has significantly gone to just way, way further than the original map, just based on my initial relook of the Oaks earlier today. Well, that enough talk. Let's go ahead and load on into the map and see it for ourselves. Now, unlike the original The Oaks, which had a substantial number of required mods, all pull off of the Giants mod hub, this map does not have any required mods. We are going to be using the mods we typically use when we look at maps, though, which are additional field info, additional game settings, animal food overview, field lease, field calculator, precision farming, and straw harvest. I am loading this map up not in New Farmer today. I'm loading this map up in Farm Manager mode. And the reason for that is because in all game modes, you do not own any land. Also, in all game modes, you do not have any starting machinery. So therefore, it's most advantageous to start in Farm Manager mode. That way you have the largest bank balance, so you can buy the farm that you wish to use. This map is loaded with farm options. And then you can buy some fields and also buy some starting machinery without having to take out a large amount of debt. Now, with respect to low-end systems, I had no issues whatsoever maintaining a solid 60 frames per second using my low-end system as a benchmark, which is using AMD integrated graphics. If you are maybe suffering with frame rates, then I do have a video that talks about maybe optimal frame rates for lower-end systems in my playlist. Now, we are taking a little bit of time to load in because there are a ton of things loaded in here. There are a ton of farms on this map. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA, and I think you'll see what I mean. So over here on the side of the PDA, we have a listing of all the farms. There's 19 of them. This is a 4X map, so we are looking at a map that is 4 times larger than a standard size map. But still, imagine a standard map with 5 farms, and then take that times 4, and that's basically what you have here. And we're going to cover each and every one of these farms when we get to that section of the video. Now, this map does have all the standard crops available to us in FS22. In addition, I did also load up the premium expansion, so we do have red beets, carrots, and parsnips also. If we take a look at our farmland view, well, you're going to see that we don't own any land. Like I said, regardless of the play mode you start in, you do not own any land, nor do you have any starting machinery. But let's talk about some of the highlights here. The starting farm, or at least the farm location that we start at, is at farmland ID 193. That can be bought for $110,000. There's also another arable farm at farmland ID 33. That is going to be farm number 6. That can be bought for $373,000. There is a cow barn, or cow farm, numbered 7 on the list, at farmland ID 194. And that's hidden way down here to the south. That can be bought for $168,000. Then we have a sheep farm at farm number 8, which is at farmland ID 205. That can be bought for $289,000. We have another cow farm at farmland ID 208. That can be bought for $295,000. We have a chicken farm at farm number 11, which is going to be farmland ID number 209. That can be bought for $60,000. We have another cow farm at farmland ID 132, which is farm 13. It's going to be located right here. And then we have right next door another cow farm, farm 14, at farmland ID 133. We have another cow farm at farm 15, which is located at farmland ID 211. It's only located right here for $213,000. We have another cow farm numbered 16 on the list at farmland ID 215. That's $223,000. We have cow farm 17 on the list at farmland ID 82. That can be bought for $734,000. And then we have a few other notable areas that are for building. We have building zones at farmland ID 195. Down here in town, 196, 223, 203, 202, 200, 199, and 198 as well. We also have a buildable zone over here at farmland ID 212 and 213 in the extreme northeast corner of the map. We also then have buildable areas at farmland ID 186 and 187 on the western side of the map. And there are other farms, indeed, that I did not cover here. There's also possibly other building sites that I did not cover here because this map has got a ton of things going on. With that, let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland lease screen. This is going to show us all of the viable farmlands, how large those farmlands are, if those farmlands include any fields, what fields are included, then lastly, how much is this farmland going to cost us. One thing I do like to see is that the fields and farmland numbers are matching up 1-for-1 so far. Hopefully that trend continues all the way down the list and we have a substantial number of fields on this map. Speaking of fields, we're going to go ahead and cross-reference this with our field calculator screen in order to see the sizes of each of these 184 fields. Now this is going to show us the specific sizes of each field. We can then go cross-reference that with the farmland number and then see how much it's going to cost to buy any one given field. Field 62 is 49 hectares in size. So as we can see down through this list, we have fields that range from what I would say small to large fields, where we have some fields that are less than 2 hectares in size. Then we have some fields that are fairly large. Like I said, we just identified probably the largest field on the map. Here we go. Field 176 is 34 hectares as well. We do have a custom growth schedule on this particular map, as you can see here. And something else to point out is if you have crop growth calendar enabled, you will not be able to plant or harvest sugarcane or cotton because they do not have a growth or planting schedule. Now, of course, if you're dead set on planting cotton in the UK on this map, then you can turn the crop calendar off. Let's go back up here and take a look at our precision farming soil map. This map is making use of the generic soil map that is included with the precision farming mod. Now, I've been told that I could probably do away with showing this soil map. FS25, we don't know. Precision farming is going to be included base game, or it's going to be another add-on. I'd like to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. But taking a look at this particular soil map, it looks like predominantly the way things are all laid out, most of these fields are going to be at least 2 different soil types. But where we do have fields that are predominantly a single soil type, that single soil type is going to be silty clay. So with the predominance of 19 different farms that you can have on this map, it may be something that you will be picking. Well, maybe you're going to choose, let's say, this field farm, 16, because of the soil type that is around it, as opposed to maybe some of these other farms where you may have a little less desirable soil in its near proximity. Taking a look down through our prices screen, we do indeed have the ability to sell most, but sadly not all of the crops that are available to us here in FS22. Now, we know that cotton and sugarcane, when we looked at the growth calendar, were excluded from the growth calendar as far as growth and harvest, or planting and harvest schedules. But of course, we can turn that off. So since we have cotton and sugarcane both included in the map, we do not have the ability to sell cotton. So if you do turn the growth calendar off, you could put cotton in the ground, but you're not going to have any place to sell it unless you put your own sell point down. Now, with respect to our animal outputs of eggs, wool, and milk, we do have the ability to sell those, as well as our silage, hay, straw, and grass. Continuing down through all of our base game production items, well, the story is mixed. We are lacking the ability to sell flour, cakes, fabric, and clothes. In addition, we cannot sell cereal. Chocolate is excluded from the listing of sell points. We also do not have the ability to do planks or furniture, which is rather interesting because of the 3 productions that we do have pre-placed on this map, the sawmill is one of those. We do not have the ability to buy bulk lime, so if you do want to get lime, you will need to put down your own buy point to do that in bulk or get it from the shop. And if you are going to play with stones enabled, you will need to do something with your stones, and you're going to need to put something down for that because we do not have a place to take our stones by default. If you are playing with the farm production pack, we can sell our washed root crops, but what we cannot do is we cannot get rid of any of the platinum expansion production items. So if you are going to do any platinum expansion production on the forestry items, well, then you're going to need to put down your own sell point. But thankfully, the premium expansion, we do have the ability to sell those items. If you are playing with pumps and hoses, we do not have the ability of getting rid of our separated manure. So you're going to need to put that either on your fields or put your own sell point down. But thankfully, those with the straw harvest add-on, we do have places to take our hay and straw pellets. As far as starting machinery, as I've mentioned already earlier, we do not have any starting machinery in any game mode. We also do not have any animal pens at the start. We do have some animal pens scattered around the map, as we've already talked about, but at the start, since we don't own any land, we do not own any animal pens either. We do have contracts available on this farm. Really like the custom icons here, custom graphics for these farms. We do not own any of those production chains at the start, nor do we have any collectibles. There's really no use to show off our owned equipment because we don't own it, but we do want to check our mods and DLCs to see if this map has any custom vehicles or implements. It does not. Now, before we get on with the farm tour, I do want to go down through the build mode because we do have the ability to put down lots of buildings that are included with this map. So there are several buildings included with vintage oaks, and those are all listed here. These are basically all the custom buildings or retextured buildings that are going to be pre-placed around the various farms that we're going to see. I can tell you that in most cases, we are going to be able to sell the buildings at these farms. In most cases, we're also going to be able to sell the decorative items at each farm to completely clear out these areas. But in all cases, I have found that the farmhouses, or the houses that are associated with the farm areas, are not sellable. In fact, most of those farmhouses do not have sleep triggers associated with them, and you'll need to put down your own sleep trigger, which is included with the map. So we have custom buildings. We do have some custom silos. A silo shed holds 900,000 liters of product. And we have we have then our placemat. I was thinking about the video I just did yesterday where we had a ton of farmhouses. It can get a little confusing when you do so many map videos so close together. As far as custom productions go, we do have one being the large sawmill that we can put down. And then we do have several animal pastures that we can also put down that are custom to this map or custom textured. Like this one here, which is a retextured base game pig pen. And then as far as ground textures go, well, we've got a wide assortment of ground textures. I'm not going to be able to actually paint any of these down because we don't own any land yet. We do have several different gravels. We have some cobblestones. We have some concrete that is damaged or scraped up in various ways. And then this one is going to be just pink flowers. And I was really hoping that we would have pink flowers as a paintable plant, but we do actually not have that capability. As far as plants go, we have some different grasses that we could put down. Then we have base game bushes. And then we have a wide assortment of base game trees as well. Now, I'm going to address something right now before we get on with the next segment of the video. And I understand through third party that Farmston Briscoe has used this map to further expand his repertoire as far as being able to produce a map completely on his own, making his own buildings and things. And as such, a lot of these buildings are custom and or custom textured. But what we're going to find is that a lot of these buildings are using some pretty rough textures, in my opinion. They're a little hard to look at compared to what we are typically used to seeing with respect to FS22 buildings. Now, they passed what I would say the 50-foot rule. They look pretty darn good at 50 feet. They don't look too darn bad at 15 feet. And when you get up close to them, well, they do kind of start to show a bit of their age. This one's not too terrible bad, but some of the other ones are a little bit more pronounced. Now, that may or may not affect you. You may not care. And if you don't care, that's fine. If you do care, as I've already mentioned, you can sell pretty much most, if not all, of the buildings at all the various farms that we're just about ready to go take a look at. So if you really don't like this building, for example, well, you can get rid of it and you can put your own down. And then you can still enjoy this map for what it is. Because this map is amazing. This map is very nice. The number of farms alone makes this map really stand out. This is going to be a superb multiplayer map. Because, look at this, you've got 19 possible farms here. 19 possible building sites where you could wipe out the entire farm if you want and build out something custom. There are tons of areas where you could put production down and further expand your operations. Tons of field choices. this could be a very good multiplayer map for 6, 7, 8, 9 different people. Easy. Easy. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and try to buy all of these individual farmlands. And then we're going to go and jump around to each one of them in numerical order. That'll make it hopefully a little bit easier to follow along. And we'll talk about what's available at each particular farm. And then we'll jump and take to the sky and do a fly around. And that should then conclude the majority of this map video. Here we are at Farm 1. This is going to be to the northwest, right beside Field 9. And before we take a look at that, I do want to run down through the 3 productions that we do have on this map. We've got the Oaks BGA. This is a fairly standard biogas plant that's going to accept silage, slurry, manure, and sugar beet cut, and output energy, methane, and digestate. We then have the Sugar Factory, which is going to accept sugar beet and sugar beet cut, and output sugar. And then our Holks Timber is going to accept wood and output planks and wood chips. Now this is the Preston's farm. It is located right here, as I said, to the northwest, and is right beside field number 9. This is going to be tied to farmland ID 185, and it's going to cost $217,512. As we progress in through the long lane off the main street, we're going to find our farmhouse, or our house that is intended to be our farmhouse, over here to our right. We will need to put down our own sleep trigger for this and pretty much all of the other farms other than Farm ID 5, which is where you spawn in at when you load the map. I did find that I was able to get rid of a lot of the debris that is scattered around this farm and all of the other farms, but things of note that you cannot get rid of are going to be these fences and the farmhouse itself. But I was able to get rid of these sheds. So once you buy the land, you will be able to open the buildings. You cannot open the buildings without owning the land. So it is a very important thing to note. This particular farm has just a few sheds and a fuel trigger. And then we have a bit of area here around the back where you have some grass that you could then do some additional building, put down some animal pastures. And then we have a storage area back here. This is going to be for basically heaping up roof props or whatever you really want to use it for. So that is Farm 1. Farm 2, Thatch Farm, is going to be located just south of Farm 1. So here we were, up here right by Field 9. We've taken now the road a little bit south to Thatch Farm, located right here beside Field 18. This is going to be farmland ID 188 and can be bought for $78,318. Something else to note is it is right close to 2 building zones in farmland ID 186 and 187, respectively. So here we have Farm 2, and then we can see those building plots are just around the corner, located right there. What you see on screen is basically what is included with this farmland. It does not include any fields, but it does include, again, some grass areas. We have our farmhouse. Once again, you can put a sleep trigger down there if you want. We have some fences that, again, you'll need to own the land in order to make use of. On this farm, we have our fuel. Then we have a couple more sheds. We can get rid of all the debris and junk around here, so we can clean things up. But again, like I said in Farm 1, what we cannot get rid of are the gates and the fences. They are going to be permanently a part of this farm unless you go into Giants Editor and pull those out individually. Farm 3, or should I say more or less Site 3, is going to be located again right down the street from Farm 2. It is Manor Oaks Silo. It is located right here. Farmland ID 190. It can be bought for $89,000. So we were right here, and now we just come down the street a little bit. A couple important things to note here is We have kind of an empty building lot here at farmland ID 191 that splits the road right next to this silo. That is $156,000. We also have another building lot right behind 190. That is 192. That is $131,000. And then we're just going to go ahead and talk about Cow Meadow View Farm, which is right behind the Oak Manor's silo, or Manor Oak silo. And there's a road connecting the two. So you could kind of maybe buy this whole little area here and have a pre-built cow farm, have a silo, and then some additional lots in order to build out some other things. So here we have the silo building. You have a couple fences. Large storage building. So we have our dump point. And then on the outside of the building, we have our fill pipe. And then this road is going to take us back to Farm 4. But before we get to there, I do want to point out that we have this building site here, which then connects to this little area right across the road. And then this is also a building site that can be bought. Then we come back here to Farm 4. So we have our main lane for Farm 4. A very nice farmhouse complex. You will need to put down your own sleep trigger here if you wish to make use of this as your farmhouse. And then we're going to come in this lane. That's the road that's going to take you back to the silo. Got a couple fenced areas here. And several sheds for bale and implement storage. Now, this was named Cow Farm, am I correct? Let's go back and look at this. Cow Meadow View Farm. But something important to note with Cow Meadow View Farm is that, well, there do not appear to be any actual cow buildings at Cow Meadow View Farm, which is kind of interesting. Farm 5 is where we start this map tour at. That is going to be located right down here, right next to Field 39. Farmland ID 193, that can be bought for $110,000. I don't think I mentioned what Farm ID 189, which is Farm 4, can be bought for, but that's $251,000. So we do have a sleep trigger pre-placed here. It is a sleep mat. And then the actual farm buildings are right around the corner. We have a couple sheds here. A lot of these farms do not have silos, but I also know that it is not uncommon to simply tip to ground or tip to the floor of a building to store your crops. Then we have a fuel trigger also there for storage. That is Farm 5. Farm 6, or Grimmer Farm, is the next one. It's going to be just west of Farm 5, right beside Field 33 and just south of large Field 26. That can be located right here. We do have, again, our farmhouse where we can place a sleep trigger. And then, once again, we have several sheds that are placed here. All of these sheds can be removed, as I mentioned. I'll mention when I stumble upon a building that cannot be removed. But just note that overall, most of these farms, the farm buildings, the sheds, are going to be removable. The deco elements, the trash, the debris, that is going to be removable, although you're going to have to remove it one piece at a time. The fences, gates, and farmhouses, as well as any walls, they are not removable. This particular farmland can be bought for $373,386. As far as Farm 7, that's going to be our first animal farm. And it's going to have 2 cow buildings. That is going to be diagonal to the east and south of Farm 6. Just for fun, let's just go ahead and fly as the crow flies directly over to that. Does give a little bit of a view of the map itself as well during this transition. We do have a train that traverses through the southeastern portion of the map, or should I say southwestern portion. So here we are, Farm 7, our first farm with animal buildings. And I believe this is also our first farm where we have a building which I cannot remove. So Farm 7, Farmland ID 194. This is going to be Cantley Dairy Farm. That can be bought for $168,000. As we come in through this way, we do have 2 silage bunkers located here and here. We have a manure heap for storage located there. We have our first cow building right here. So this is going to be where our manure is going to spawn. Odd. It's going to spawn here on the dirt, but okay. So we're going to be able to come and collect that manure, and then we'll be able to simply put it in storage. We have our food trough here. We have our cow pickup point, 150 cows in this building. We have our slurry output, and then we have our milk point. This particular building is the very first building for which we are not going to be able to sell. Anytime you see this building, it is going to be permanently a part of the map. I tried a lot of times to sell this building when I was prepping for this video, and every time I clicked on it, it just said Gray Barn. If I hit demolish, nothing happens. Typically, if I can't sell something and I hit demolish and then click on it, it will let me sell it, but not here. So like I said, again, you're going to be able to sell all these little individual deco elements one at a time, but you will be able to sell those. But this barn, whenever we see this barn, for whatever reason, it is not going to be sellable. We then have a second cow building right here. All the triggers are the same as the first, so I don't think we really need to go in detail on those. But I do want to buy an animal just so we have that listed there. That is Farm 7. Dunthorne's pig farm is going to be Farm 8. It is going to be pretty much north of town here. So here we were, Farm 7. We went north and east, and then we have Farm 8. This is going to be at Farmland 205. That can be bought for $289,698. Some other important things to note is it butts right up against Farm 9, which is Farmland ID 204. That can be bought for $187,000, and that is going to be Church View Farm. So Farm 8 is a pig farm where we have multiple pig pastures. Here we have our lane coming into our farmhouse. We have several sheds. Again, our gray building, for which we're going to find is permanently a part of the map. We do have slurry storage. That was also something that I could not sell on this particular farm. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pig areas. These are basically reskins of the base game pig area, so the triggers are going to be very, very familiar to all of us. We have our slurry point. We have our food point here, and then we have our animal drop-off point. And these have all been reskinned to have that vintage or old look to them. I do like the vintage treatment on the silo. I think maybe the I'm not the hugest fan of the treatment on the buildings themselves, but the silo I think was done very well. Let's just go ahead and buy some pigs at all of these sites. We will be taking a look at animal food requirements when we get done with these farm tours. That way we have all of the animal pastures populated with at least one animal. There is going to be a sheep farm that we're going to come up to that is already populated with 10 sheep. I believe that is one in all of them, but this one. There we have the pig farm. And then, like I mentioned, right down the road, the lane, we have farm 9, not 10, farm 9. Farm 9 does have a silo building as well as a fuel storage tank. A small farmhouse. Gate. Some buildings. A nice large open area here for maybe another building or shed to be placed. Then we have our farm silo building. We're going to have our dump point and our fill point, both inside. Then we have the church. So remember, this was Church View Farm. Then we have the church for which we have the view of. And then farm 10 is kind of diagonal to the west. It is going to be another cow farm. So let's just go ahead and make our way over there. Now let's talk about our scoring while we're on our way over here. With respect to production being built in, we do have 3 productions built in, as we've already demonstrated. So we are going to be giving the map a full point there. With respect to the ability to sell all our basic crops, animal outputs, and productions. Well, we did not have the ability to sell cotton. Cotton was excluded from the growth calendar, but we can turn the growth calendar off. And since cotton is included in the map, I would like to have seen also having a place to sell that. We had a place to sell sugarcane. I can only think maybe that it was an oversight, but an oversight nonetheless. We have cotton. We also do not have the ability to sell flour, cake, fabric, clothes, cereal, chocolate, planks, or furniture from the productions list. And now that, while that sounds like a large list, I believe I counted these up. They were somewhere between 9 and 10 items we couldn't sell. Given the vast majority of the things in the game as far as crops and productions and animal outputs, that still is only about a quarter of what we can't sell. So we're going to take 1/4 of a point off. So the map's going to get 3/4 of a point with respect to the ability to sell all our basic crops, animal outputs, and productions. Here we are at farm 10. This is going to be a farmland ID 208. This is going to be Half Road Oaks Farm. Congratulations, we're halfway through the list of the farms now at farm 10. We only have 9 more to go. This farmland can be bought for $295,536. This farm does have a single cow farm or cow building. So we have a farmhouse. We do have a silage bunker located right here. We have also a farm silo shed. This is set up a little bit different where we have a large shed here for implement storage. And then we have a dump point. And then we have our fill point. We have another silage bunker there. Another large storage shed. Then we have our manure storage. And then we have our cow building. Same as the other cow building that we've already seen. Right, so we have our manure spawn point. We have our food trough. We have our cow delivery point here for 150 cows. And we have our milk trigger along the side, as well as slurry. We do have a little bit of extra building area here as well, where we can put another cow building down, or really do whatever we wanted with. A lot of these farms are fairly spacious, given that this is a UK map, a little bit of a surprise. And again, if you don't like the clutter, if you don't like the dirt, well, it is vintage oaks. I think it's intended to look that way, but you can pretty much sell all the buildings, again, at this farm, and all of the debris and everything else. Farm 11 is where we're going to represent our chicken farmer. We have 4 chicken coop buildings located here. It's going to be located along the western edge of the map. Right here, south of field 157. Farmland ID 209, viable for just under $60,000. And this is going to be the aptly named chicken farm. So we have our farmhouse. We have 4 chicken coops, all pretty much the same. They're going to hold 2,500 chickens apiece. So we have our dump point for our food. Again, wonderful weathering on these silos. I think you really hit that off. While we do not have marked out where eggs are going to spawn, I'm pretty much inclined they're going to spawn right here. You want to take a little bit of time and just look at these textures. So this is some of the paintable concrete texture that we had available in build mode. Another one of these sheds, which we've seen so many times so far, but this one is set up for, again, a silo, dump and fill point. And let me go ahead and just buy some chickens at each one of these. So that's 5,000, 10,000 chickens you can have here. Quite the operation. Feeding everyone here on vintage oaks. Keeping them fed with their egg. Now, farm 12 is actually right around the corner. And tied to farm 12, we do have this open sheep pasture. It's going to hold 150 sheep. We have 10 sheep already located here. So we have our food trough. We have our water trough. And then we have our wool spawn point, thankfully marked out right here. And then that is going to lead us through the woods, not to Grandma's house, but to farm 12. So we have a couple buildings. We have diesel storage and our farmhouse for farm 12. And it's going to be farmland ID 210. And it's going to be $320,000, 502. And farm 12 is going to be Old Moles. Hello, Old Moles. How are you doing? Now, farm 13 is right up the road from farm 12. So let's just kind of skip over what we're going to come up to next, which I believe is going to be the animal dealer, which is going to be located right in front of us. We'll come back to this during the fly around. We have our animal dealer here, as well as several buy points to buy various animal-related products. Fly over a couple of these larger fields, 149, 140, and make our way over to 13. So while we're talking about our scoring, can the farms be customizable? A lot of these farms are completely and totally customizable. Some of the farms are going to have things like the gray shed, which can't be sold. I'm not taking any points off with respect to the farm houses not being sellable, but we do have quite a bit of fences, gates, and other random little things at these various farms that we can't sell that can somewhat impact your ability to redesign things. So we are going to take a 1/4 point off there. So we're going to give the map 3/4 of a point with respect to can the farms be customizable. And oh my gosh, 19 different farm options on this map. That has to possibly be a record. So here we are, farm 13, the Oaks Hurst Farm. That can be bought for $399,750, and it's farmland ID 132. So right next to farm 14, we'll go ahead and talk about that. Keys Farm, that can be bought for $795,000. So one of the more expensive properties there. We have cows at farm 13 and also cows at farm 14. So we have manure storage right next to our silage bunker. Then we have our cow building. So we have our milk or slurry point. We have our cow delivery point here. Again, 150 cows in total. We have our food. We have our manure spawn. Got some general sheds. This one is going to be our silo shed. Here we have our fill pipe. And then this door is going to take us to our dump point. Like how we do have some variety. Oh, our little friend gray shed. I do like that we have, again, some variety with respect to our silo buildings. Fuel storage. And there's our farmhouse. And then we have farm 14. Located right here. Again, we have cows. So we have our cow building. Would have been nice to have seen a little bit more variety with our cow building here, especially since so many of these farms are going to be dairy related. So we have our food, we have our manure, we have our slurry and our milk. Several sheds. Our silo shed. So a dump and fill pipe there. Fuel storage. Then on the way in here, we saw that there were 2 3-sided silage bunkers and our manure heap. That is farm 14. So we were here, farm 14, and I've got the soil map up because it's easiest to see where the farms are with this. Farm 14 is here. Now we're over here to 15, 16, and 17 to just give you some frame of reference. And farm 15 is going to be Sutton's farm. That is going to be farmland ID 211 and can be bought for $213,264. Now this is, once again, another cow farm. We have our farmhouse located right here. We're going to make our way into the farmyard proper. Here we have some storage sheds. Our good old friend, gray shed. We have a silage bunker. Just some general implement and vehicle storage here. We have fuel storage and our silo building, where we have our dump and fill pipe. And then we have our cow building with our milk slurry. Cow drop off, 150 cows again. Food and manure. Around the back, we then have our manure storage. Some other additional land here where we could further expand out, maybe put another cow building down. Since farm 16 is just up the lane, I'm just going to go ahead and fly on up there. We have another church coming up over here on our left. Then farm 16 is straight on ahead. So we do have a storage corner here, again, where we can store root crops and such. We have our farmhouse. And then our farm proper. Good old friend, gray shed. I just bring that up because every time we see gray shed, remember, That is a shed that is going to be permanently a part of the farm. So we have our farm silo, fuel storage, and we continue to make our way through here to then the cow area, manure storage. We have a slurry bunker or a silage bunker, slurry fill pipe, diesel, not diesel, but milk. 150 cows. We have our food and straw trigger and our manure point. That is farm 16. That can be located right here on the PDA, right by field 94. It's farmland ID 215. We have bought for $223,000. Farm 17 is going to be farmland ID 82. That can be bought for $734,000. Farm 16 is Wright's Farm, where we just were. And Ash Tree Farm is where we are about to go. Is once again right down the lane. So let's just go ahead and make our way over there. With respect to buildings where appropriately are using the new texturing technique as well as round textures. This one I have debated about quite a bit. I looked at all the ground textures when I was looking down through the map pre-recording. Some of them are very obviously just flat images. Others, it's a bit more difficult to tell. And I feel that some of them do have some depth to them. And you know what? Let's divert real quick because we do have a building site here. One that I had excluded, I think, from talking about earlier. Farmland ID 218 for $32,000. I want to just go ahead and paint these down. Just so you can see them. I've gotten away from painting textures because some comments folks were like, hey, you don't need to do that. But I just want to paint these down real quick. So we have our animal mud. We have our asphalt. Light asphalt. Concrete. These are all fairly standard. We have dark leaves. Dirt mix 2. Then we have our dirty cobble. Here we're missing a language entry. That is going to be for, I guess, farm track. Farm concrete 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Flint dark, with light, forest floor, forest leaves, grass mixture, gravel track, green moss, gray cobble, gray gravel grass, gray stone, pink flowers, watch out, this is going to be bright, road, and white cobble. Then while we're here, we can go ahead and just, we have medium oaks, medium grass, oaks long, dry grass, oaks, small grass, and meadow. All right, so let's go down and take a look at these. All right, so some of these are fairly straightforward. FS22 standard textures. Some of these are not. Like I said, it's gonna be a little hard to tell if these are using that new texturing where we have a bit of a 3D feel to them, or if they're not. Some of these do, and then at different angles they don't. If they do, they're very subtle, which is fine. I don't need, things to be jumping out at me like those awful 3D movies from the old 80s and 90s. But you kind of get the gist. Like, I feel like this is an image as opposed to a depth texture. And these flowers are 1,000% just an image as opposed to being a depth texture. Now imagine if we could paint this and then we had flowers on top. That would look pretty neat, I think, maybe. Maybe it would be a little bit too much. I don't know. And then we have our foliage. So again, we're going to go with a 0.5 point in that metric. Now we're going to hit 18 and 19. One little segment here. We have Oak Pitts Barn and Putney Corner Farm. So Oak Pitts Barn is going to be located right here, right by field 163, which is going to be farmland ID 163. It can be bought for $631,000. Farm 19, which is going to be farmland ID 207, can be bought for $67,000. Now this is really just a barn, a shed, a corner storage, and then a diesel point. Sorry, no. It's just a shed and this corner storage. We have the diesel point at farm 19 or area 19. That's going to be over here right by field 172. Is directly in front of us. We do have, from time to time, utility poles running through the fields. In these cases, we do have collisions on those. So if you are using hired help, they will avoid those. If you are using courseplay, you will need to make sure the courseplay goes around those as well. So here we have the last farm, farm 19. We have a small farmhouse. We have a little shed. And then we have diesel storage, and that is farm 19. So let me know down in the comments below, what is your favorite farm? I have to say, of all of these, I think my favorite is probably, again, of these 19, I think I like this one. That's 15. I like how it's laid out. I like the trees. I like that it's spread out enough, but still not taking up a huge amount of land. I kind of like this little pond in front of the farmhouse, and this lane, right? This little drooped-in lane. Come in here to the farmhouse, and then go back out the street, or go this way to the farm. Let me know what your all's thoughts are. What is your favorite farm of the 19 available on this map? Again, that's got to be a record. For the final segment of this video, we're going to do the fly around that we typically use to take a look at all the points of interest, sell points, and productions. We're back to Farm 5. This is where you start when you load the map up. I want to come back to this. I figure this is our home base, if you will. Our starting farm, even though we don't own any land in any game mode, this is at least where every player starts. And as such, I want to start our tour from this location. Take a look around. This map is predominantly flat. It's not completely flat as a board, but overall it is fairly flat, so you shouldn't have a whole lot of issues with respect to using vehicles or implements that are maybe a little bit undersized for the horsepower tractor that we've got going on here. To the east, we do have our town, our industrial complex, which we are going to go take a look at. We have a train that crosses through the southwest portion of this map. This is a rentable train, and I do believe that there is an off-map train sell point. So as we come into a town here, we're going to follow the train tracks. You're going to see several of these areas, which we've already talked about, are going to be these farms. And then right here, we're going to go and make our way to the sugar factory. This is one of the productions that is available on this map. So we have our dump point for our sugar at our sugar factory. Sorry, I had that backwards. This is not the sugar factory. This is a sell point. Our sugar factory is right down the road. This is International Grain. And then we have British Grain, which is located right here. British Grain is a sell point silo. No. I apologize. It's going to be a transfer silo. So we have our dump point. We have our fill point for our trailer. We have our rent train trigger. We have our dump and fill point for our train. So that is where we're going to then send that off for selling. We do have a couple building plots here where we can put down other industrial things. This whole area here between International Grain and here is also a viable building plot. We have another rent train trigger. And then we've got something weird going on inside of here. As you can see, we've got some occlusion going on. And if we come back, whoa, we come back in here enough, right? This storage bin pops in. I don't really know what's going on there, but it happens on both sides. And it was really, really weird. But just wanted to point that out. It's not a problem with the map or anything. It's just the natural occlusion that is built into FS22 occurring in a position where one maybe wouldn't really expect it to be. Here we have British Sugar Grain. Dump and fill point. Then we're going to be able to load that onto the train. And then this is going to be our British sugar production. So we have our, here goes the train off in the distance. We have our dump point for our sugar beets, our sugar beet cut. We have our interactive icon here around the back. And then I did spawn in a bunch of sugar pallets. And you can see that is here under this shed. Now this area is not marked out, but I did want to go ahead and spawn those in there so you know where they were. And then around the corner, here we have a sugar beet sell point. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional plots where you can put down additional productions should you so wish. Now we'll loop around through here and just kind of take a look at some of this, just the way the fields are laid out, the way the trees are laid out, the waterways, the towns, the roads. We've already taken a look at a lot of these farms, or all of these farms. Next area we're going to go to is another grain sell point that is here on the extreme western edge of the map, just below fields 149 and 164. Now these fields are going to be fairly easily merged together. There's a little bit of a hump there. You can easily just level that out and merge them in. So here we are, East Coast Grain. Really like how this is set up. You come in, you just do a loop. You come through the dump, and you do your loop back out. So here we have, this would be the area 18, the shed area, the farm 18 I said. It's just the shed and the corner marker there. Got some more farms over here that we talked about. We had that sheep pasture, that other farm there in behind the woods. just to give you a little bit of correlation as to where things were. And then our animal dealer, located over here, right by field 150, 152, 153, 151. And here we have a bale sell point. We have a sell point for chaff, silage. We have a sell point for manure. And we have our animal dealer trigger located right here. We do have animated animals here, which is always a good thing to see added to maps. Now we're going to make our way up to the biogas plant, which is in the extreme northern part of the map. I know you guys are going to ask, do these field hedges have collisions? About to find out. No, they do not. So in general, field hedges do not have collisions. Field fences will have collisions. That is a very important thing to denote. So the BGA is going to be located right to the west of field 92. And then our sawmill is going to be located right to the east of field 88. So we have our sawmill. We have our wood chip fill point. Our dump point for our logs, our wood cell trigger. We have our spawn point for our planks, for which we cannot sell. Now, of course, you could put a carpentry down and produce furniture, but we cannot sell that either. So if you do own a sawmill, you will have to put something down in order to either get rid of the planks or the furniture if you put down a carpentry, because those are two of the production items for which you cannot sell on at least this version of this particular map. Right behind that, we have the BGA. We do have two three-sided silage bunkers. We've got a nice storage shed. And then we have the biogas plant itself. I was successful in selling the BGA and the two three-sided bunkers. Honestly, I don't think I tried to sell this building, but we just confirmed it will go away. So if you do want to, you can sell pretty much everything here at the BGA and then rebuild this out however you should so want to. We do have a few grain sell points located over here to the east. I want to go ahead and point those out. We also have two building sites up here to the northeast as well. We talked about those two earlier on in the video. I do want to show those to you. So here we have those two building plots. One is a little bit lower leveled than the other. I like how we have varied terrain going on here. So we have one of our grain sell points located right there. That is by field 98. And then we have this one located just south of field 100. And we'll need to make our way all the way across the map once again, because we do have another set of grain sell points all the way on the western side. And then that is going to close out this map video. So with respect to trigger and interactive areas clearly marked, I was initially going to give the map a full point with regard to triggers and interactive areas being clearly marked, but I feel that there are a few areas like the chicken eggs, like the sugar, that I would like to have seen marker corners. We had marker corners at other productions, but the sugars were missing. We had marker corners at other animal areas, like the sheep, but the corners were missing for the chickens. Albeit, hopefully fairly obvious where those were. I would like to have seen those markers because, of course, players can deactivate those if they want to. So we're going to give the map 3/4 of a point there. That's going to give this map a score of 3.75. Now, this is a great map. I really like this map. I think it's a fabulous map for multiplayer. So many player options, so many different potential farms. Add this to the PC mod where you're not limited to, I think it is 9 farms, and you could really have a huge set of players on this map, basically going to town with each having their own individual farm area. Or you can have teams of people working different farms. I think it would be a really great multiplayer map. And if you don't have a problem with the older texture styles on these buildings, then by all means, keep them. If you want to put your own down, it's great because you can customize. You do have that capability. So over here on the extreme western edge of the map, we now have Brenton grain and Brenton bales. So we have a grain sell point there. We have our bale sell point there. We're going to make our way south along this road. We're going to come across those 2 additional building sites for production. And then we're going to have 1 more grain sell point directly ahead, and that's going to wrap this thing up. So like I said, the 19 possible farms or barn areas, all of the animals that are available on this map, the plethora of pre-set up areas for you to put down additional production. I think this could really hold you all the way to the release of FS25 and keep you completely busy and occupied. So here we are, Yar grain. We have the dump point for Yar grain. And I mentioned I was going to pull up the animal food requirements. Looks like we have fairly standard animal food requirements on this map for all of the different animals. So I'd love to know what your all's thoughts are down in the comments below with respect to Vintage Oaks. I have to say, I think Farm Sim Briscoe did an outstanding job with this map. A few points of contention that I would have would be that I wish we could sell everything that we could possibly make in the game, barring the Platinum expansion, of course. We don't take points off with respect to not having the ability to sell our Platinum expansion stuff. But base game stuff, is there really an excuse not to be able to sell anything that is available in the base game? For me, no, there isn't. And I'd like to see cotton added. I'd like to see flour, cake, fabric, clothes, cereal, chocolate, planks, and furniture added as well. It would be nice if we could sell the fences, the gates, and the farmhouses, and, well, gray shed at all the various farm points. We can sell a lot of other things already, so I could see that maybe being added in an update.